Hi everyone. Hi Mom. Okay, Poet Spice asked if I would show her, her name's Jamie, asked if I would show her how I do my button closures for my journals. So I'm just going to do a quick demo. It's, just on scrap because I don't have a journal cover ready to actually do. All I do is I punch with my Crop-A-Dile 3 holes. This is not the size of eyelet I use. I use the larger ones, but I don't like to waste them on a demonstration. So I'll use these crappy ones that never bend properly because I'm just going to throw it out anyway. Okay, so I do 3 holes. 2 of them I put the eyelet in, the other one I don't. And the reason I don't is because the buttons that I use for that have a shank and they won't go through, even the larger one, they won't go through the eyelet to sink them into the top. I don't want mine standing right from the very top. See, that would be quite a big amount off my page, off my book cover. That's too much for me. I like them pushed down farther. So by doing that 3rd hole and leaving it so that it isn't hard where I can't get it in there, that allows me to push the button down farther. So how I do that then is I choose my button and I use beading thread. It's super duper strong. The only problem is it's slippery sucker. So yeah, sometimes it, it takes me forever to do this. Okay, so I sink it lightly in the hole. I leave it up to start with because it's easier to work. So starting from the top, I put my needle through the hole. Now this is the part where it can be difficult. If you, maybe what I'll do, let's try that, is just stick a little bit of washi so that I don't lose the end of my thread. Okay, so I go down and then what I'll do is you push your shank through the hole so that you can get your needle through that. It's going to come off the needle too. This stuff's really slippery. And then back up your other eyelet. And this is where I would lift this up a little so that I could get my thread through the shank. So I just drop that through there. And I do this several times to give it strength. Okay. And then back down through my eyelet. Then push my button down again so I can get my thread through. And back up my eyelet. And I know Jamie crochets and all that stuff, so she'll be good at this. And then I go through the button again. And then back down the eyelet. And do it however many times you want. Now, I like to come, let me put that through the hole again. So you're wanting, the idea is you don't want it to be tight to your book or you're not going to get anything underneath it, but you don't want it sitting up either, so you're going to adjust your tension accordingly. I like to have it, just down slightly below my book level. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going to go back up my eyelet. Now this is how I do mine. I'll wrap mine around the shank when I get it to where I like it. So it isn't quite up off the page, it is below. Wrap it around to give it some more strength, and then the other end I'll tie it off underneath the button. I don't want it on this side. If you want it on that side, then clearly you would go the opposite of what I just showed you, so you have both tails down here, then you can tie a bow. I've done it that way as well. Then on this side, so on your back cover, I do 2 holes again, and then I put eyelets, and in this case you can do smaller eyelets, and then I thread whatever it is I'm going to wrap around here through the 2 eyelets. And the reason I do that is to add strength. So when you're pulling on it, you're not going to rip through your book cover at all. You're not going to add wear and tear to it. by adding the eyelets. So that's how I do my button shanks. They're really simple and they're very, very effective, and you can see how many different, you know, closures you can get. The other trick I do is if I have a button like this one that I absolutely love, but I might not necessarily want white, I'll take my Copic markers or alcohol ink and I will dye them a different color. So that's how I do that. I hope that answers your question, Jamie. Okay, next I had a question on homemade enamel dots. So I have a ton of them, and as you can see, they came out really nice and round. They've got a great dome on them and no dip. So in my experience, perler beads didn't work for me, and they're more money. So I went with these ones, which are, I don't even know, what are they called? You guys know what they are. I mean, there's either perler beads or the other one. These are cheaper, and I got them at Michael's. I used a coupon, so I got them really cheap, and you get, as you can see, I have 2 boxes of the ones that I just showed you, and I still have all these left over, so you're not going to run out of them anytime soon. And the way I do mine is on a cookie sheet, and I use an old craft mat that I have. I cut it to size for the cookie sheet, and that's the one that I always use to melt the beads. They're not perler beads. They are, I don't know why I can't think of the name. Anyway, you know what they are. And I can hear you yelling at me, but it's just not coming. Sorry, guys. Anyway, I used, now I'm not dead certain, honestly, on the temperature. I started at 350. I think it was 375, to be honest with you. The hotter, the better. And then it doesn't take as long. And I believe it was 375 for maybe 5 minutes. And then you just check them. You know, just keep an eye on your first batch. Don't do a whole bunch at once, just to see how it works for you. Each area of the country will be different, you know, just because of weather and altitude. And your oven makes a difference, you know, how that works. If you're using, don't do it in the microwave. Yeah, I did that. Blew a circuit. Overheated my microwave. So don't do it in the microwave. But you can use a toaster oven. And I've seen some people do that on their patio. So they take their toaster oven outside, and that way they don't have the smell in their house. Personally, I don't find they smell all that bad. It's not like you're, you know, gasping for air or anything like that. But if you happen to be scent sensitive, then yeah, do it outside if you can, or, you know, with all your doors and windows open. And it doesn't take any time at all, and you get some really beautiful colors. Okay, so I hope that answers that question. And if you're the visual type, then just do a Google search on homemade enamel dots. There's a ton of videos out there on how to do it. And the last thing I want to talk to you about, okay, was what? Oh yes, gesso. This was originally why I was doing this video. One of my subscribers wanted me to explain gesso, what it is, what it does, and when you use it. Okay, so gesso is an artist medium. If you're a canvas painter but you paint with acrylic paint, you would prep your canvas with gesso first. If you don't, your acrylic paint soaks into the canvas and you don't get a nice painting. So that's why they use this. Now, as paper crafters, we use this to prep paper. You can also, if you like altering or doing mixed media canvas where you're using metal and things like that, you can use your gesso on that, and then you can paint or spray your metal pieces. So that's the uses of gesso. There are several different companies who produce gesso, and from my research, I found that there are 2 levels of gesso. One is called a student and one is called an artist. The artist one is very gritty because the artist for a canvas wants the tooth on the canvas so it grabs their paint. As a paper crafter, I don't want a lot of tooth on mine because I'm using it generally so that I can write on a page that maybe has more pattern on it than I want, like say a book paper. I want to fade out some of the wording so that I can actually journal on top of that book paper. So I might use an inexpensive one. This one isn't. It does have a good amount of tooth. But when you're spending a lot of money on a gesso and it is very gritty, you can sand it. That's what artists will do. So if you happen to have a good one, which I do, I can take my very, very fine grit sanding block and just give it a light sand. You can change the color of gesso. You can buy it clear, you can buy it black, and it comes white. But because it has the polymer that's in acrylic paint, you can use acrylic paint to color it. So by adding black, you can get black gesso. Or cream or whatever color you want. So, it's unlimited. I recommend that you get a white. Don't spend a lot of money if you're using it for paper crafting. Don't spend a lot of money on it. You can even make your own, although I have heard that it is grittier, which I don't want. So I've also seen it done with the spackle, and I personally thought that it flaked too much. So that's just my opinion. But you can use like talcum powder as well, and that gives you your tooth. So really, it's up to you. I mean, you can get it fairly inexpensive, especially if you get it at Michael's with a coupon. You can get it fairly inexpensive. It lasts a long time, but it does come, it is quite thick, right? It doesn't pour out. And if you're making homemade gesso, it is a lot thinner. So you don't get the coverage. Now you can thin this one out with a little bit of water if you choose. Or you can, I've also used like re-inkers. You can, to get a little bit of color in it, and it will thin it out so that I get, I still get the translucency, which is what I want. Whereas an artist may not want that. They might want like a one coat gesso. You can also get it super thick where you can use a palette knife and, get dimension to it. But for the purposes of what I need it for, it's for paper. So I will prep, say, an envelope that I want to make a cover. I'll prep it with my gesso, and then when you use your decoupage or your Mod Podge or gel medium to adhere your paper, you're not going to get all that warping and wrinkling because the gesso has now prepped it as just like a canvas. I hope that's helpful. If you have any other questions, please feel free to leave a comment. And I just wanted to say that I reached over 9,000 subscribers, and thank you so much. You guys are just amazing for sticking with me, following me, leaving all those wonderful comments. Who doesn't need a pat on the back every now and then, right? So thank you again for all that. I did do a secret draw, and there was a winner, and she happened to be on my Facebook group. So congratulations. I will get that out to her hopefully this weekend. And it is coming from Canada, going to the US, so yeah, don't expect it overnight. But it will get there. So thanks again, you guys, and I hope you have a really wonderful long weekend to my Canadian friends. And I don't know if my friends in the US have a long weekend this weekend, but have a great weekend anyway. Talk to you soon. Bye.